kind of just showed you guys all the code. Mark, are we recording, by the way? I don't know. I think you're recording. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat or something if we're recording. Cool, that works. Thank you. So we are going to do things a little differently this time around. I am going to, instead of just showing you code, walking through how it works, I'm actually going to build the code with you here. It's very simple. The reason why I want to do this is I really want to show people how to actually, develop code in the new age, right? Where you don't actually have to be a developer to build really cool stuff. You do not have to be a developer at all to do anything you want to do with code. It's very, very simple. Anyone can build basically anything they want now. And that's what I want to show you guys. So give me 1 second. I'm going to get some water and then we'll start. And please, while I'm doing this, feel free to either raise your hands, ask your questions in the Builder AMA chat right here. That would be the best place to ask, because I'm going to be doing this on my screen. I'll be looking at this chat only. I don't want to look at too many chats. So just right here on the right side of the Builder AMA stage, just ask your questions there. All right, let's get started. So tonight, the goal is to show you, everybody how exactly you build, your own fine-tuned models. What a fine-tuned model is basically where you get some data. You get an example of what you want to create, and you get an example of the input, the prompt that you would put in to create that thing. And we're gonna step through that right now. And the goal of fine-tuning models is to make models that are specific to exactly what you want to do, right? Whether it's create content, whether it's create ads, whether it's to create documentation, whether it's to create standard operating procedures, whatever it is, you can create your own fine-tuned models to make them exactly how you want every time and at a very, very high quality. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's see. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, well, there's two things really. And let's actually move this. Let's create our own. Let's delete these. Delete these. Bam. All right. You want to create two tabs. Well, really three. You want to go to Google Sheets. So let's just go to Sheets. Untitled spreadsheet. I don't know what's going to be here. Hopefully nothing too revealing. So here's a model I've already created before, but we're not going to go there. We're going to go to here. We're going to create a brand new sheet, just a Google sheet. We'll call this tutorial. And for the purposes of this video, we're only going, or for this webinar, we're only going to be going over how to create fine-tuned models using OpenAI, right? You can fine-tune any number of models. You can fine-tune your own models to run right on your laptop where you don't have to pay anything to OpenAI. You can run them. You could do your own prompting right on your laptop. There probably are even some models out there you could run on your phone, but they probably won't be as powerful. So I wouldn't even think it would be worth it to fine-tune those. It might. Have fun. Try it out. But that's not what we're really going to go into. Everything that we're going into today is specifically around OpenAI. So once you have your Google Sheet, you're going to want two columns. You want your prompt and you want your completion. Okay? That's it. Your prompt and your completion. Once you have that Google Sheet started, you're going to want to fill it up with data, right? So when you're filling this up with data, you're only going to want to fill up the completion at first, because I'm going to show you how to fill up your prompt with synthetic data to make this really, really streamlined. So let's say we're looking to create content around LinkedIn creators. Okay. What you can do, let's say you have 5, 10, 15, 20 creators that you really like how they create content. You like how they write, you like their style, right? You like everything they do. So let's say you like Byron's style, or let's actually find one that's really well known. Let's do let's do. I'm going to ask you guys, who do you think? What content creator would you want to see us pull some content from? Just as an example. We probably won't build an entire model off of them, but I just want to show you. Anybody? Content? Asking you guys. Alex Hormozy. Okay. Does he write a lot of content? I think he's more... he does some small stuff, but we can do that. Okay, Alex Hormozy's one. We'll get a couple in there. Stephen Bartlett. Okay, we'll take a look at Stephen Bartlett. Sounds like a name that I recognize. Stephen Bartlett. All right. 1 million followers. All right, so he seems like, so we'll do some of his, and then we'll do some Alex Hormozy. All right, so dang, he only has 160,000 followers, bro. Only, and I'm sitting with 10K, and he has 160. I'm like, he's only got 160. Let's see. Does he write a lot? I thought he's more like video, I think. Nope. All right, cool. So what we can do here, I have a little thing that helps me out, which is this little button right here, copies. So highlight their entire post, put it into the completion. Oop. Bam. Okay. And let's actually change this. Hold on. We're going to do this. I always resize the rows, make sure that they stay small, so after I'm done, it doesn't get ugly, doesn't look bad. Makes it easier for me to scroll through and do this. So this is manual. You can set up some code to go through and automatically scrape, but we're not going to do that because that's not the purpose of this, and then B, I don't want you guys to get your accounts banned if you do that code incorrectly. But try to find some good content from them, good long content. Here we go, perfect. Bam. Put that right here, right? And we're not going to go through and make a bunch of these. I'm just showing you some examples. We'll do some Stephen Bartlett because that was a suggestion. You always do show all posts. So that way you can scroll through and just grab some good content. Okay, so he's got some smaller stuff. Here we go. Here's a decent one. You can do smaller if that's your thing, if you don't want to do large posts. I know small is kind of starting to win on LinkedIn now, so maybe you do grab some. Maybe you do grab some, right? Grab that, put that in there. Anyway, so you would want to do this. This is the most time-consuming part of machine learning, of AI, of anything you're going to do with artificial intelligence when you're building out your own models. When you're actually trying to dig in beyond ChatGPT, beyond these platforms that give you one-click options, if you want to be more fine-tuned about how you approach this technology, this right here is going to be the most time-consuming aspect, which is gathering data, and then cleaning that data. We're not going to get into too much around the cleaning of the data, but generally speaking, when you have your data set, let's say we have a thousand pieces of content in here, you would want to go through and you'd want to define it in certain ways. You'd want to make sure that maybe all emojis are taken out. Maybe you want to ensure that all special characters are removed. Whatever way that you want to define your data set to get it formatted in a way that makes sense for how you want the output to be. Because all of this in the completion, what we're doing here is we're getting together actual whole pieces of content that we're going to tell the AI, this is how we want to write. This is what we want you to put out. Everything in this column, right? Everything in completion. This is what we want you to do. Okay? But we don't have all the time to go through and change sheet, change turn to deep learning. We don't have time to go through and do hundreds of pieces of data right now, so I'm going to grab some pre-trained content that I have a model created off of. Actually, we're going to just do like 100 pieces. 100. Yeah. Do 100 pieces. Bam. I will just put those right here. There we go. So let's say you scraped 10, 100 pieces of content, and you say, okay, this is good. This is a decent little model that I want to write like, right? Now you have that. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to build the code. You're going to want to build the code to create the prompts, because you do not want to sit here and create prompts for 100 pieces of content, like looking at the content, how to build a Web3 community, write me a post, right? You don't want to sit here and do that for every single prompt. So we're going to create code that's going to automatically do that. And how you do that is right here. So we're going to go to Perplexity AI, and we're going to go to Google Colab. With these two things, you can rule the world. Maybe not literally, but close enough. We're going to create a new notebook. This new notebook we're going to call tutorial fine-tuning. Tutorial fine-tuning. Bam. Now with Perplexity AI, the reason why we're going to use Perplexity AI to get our code, and we're not going to be using ChatGPT, is one main reason. Perplexity AI is an amazing search engine that will actually go out and find up-to-date code. And what I mean by that is, when we ask it any question, it's actually going to search the entire internet, right? It's going to look for search results on that specific question we're asking it, and it doesn't matter what it is. I've done, cost-benefit analysis. I've done all sorts of things using this by asking it very detailed questions about researching X, Y, and Z, putting it into X, Y, and Z format. You can give it very detailed instructions, and it will return accurate information. It's going to cite it all. Whereas ChatGPT only works off of its knowledge base, which right now only goes up to the year 2021. They're changing it around. They have like a web crawler now that's going out, crawling the web, grabbing information, and then updating its database that way. But it's not the same as this, which always goes out and finds the up-to-date information for your exact question. So we're going to come here. We're going to say I need Python code that will run in Google Colab and do the following. 1. So I always like to break it out into lists exactly what I want this code to do, right? Because it's easier for you, so you don't forget anything, and it's easier for the AI because it actually understands everything you're actually wanting to do. So 1, we need to read a CSV file, right? A CSV file is your basic Excel spreadsheet, just a basic spreadsheet file. We're going to save this, right? We're going to save this as a download as a CSV file. So it's just a basic spreadsheet file, very small. It's a very small file, and that's why I save it as CSV. We need to read a CSV file. The CSV file has 2 columns, and then give it the names of the columns. So give it as much information as you can. CSV file has 2 columns, which is prompt and completion. We need to cycle through every row. Just so if anybody doesn't know, each of these are rows, right? So 2, 3, 4, 5, these are rows. A, B, those are columns. We need to cycle through every row of the CSV file and pull the completion. We'll change it. Pull any completion data for that row only if, this is where you want to be very specific on what you want to do, only if the prompt column of that row is empty. Okay? Then we need to send that data as part of a prompt to OpenAI with the model of GPT-4. 3, and then 5, we need to save the response from GPT-4 OpenAI into that row's prompt column. So what this is doing, if you guys see, we're basically going to cycle through every single row that does not have anything in prompt, but it does have something in completion. Okay, so it's basically telling the code will create something that will look at completion, say, okay, there's something in completion, but there's nothing in prompt. If that's true, it's going to take this, it's going to take whatever data is in the completion row, and it's going to send that to ChatGPT. And it's going to do this on all of these rows, right? It's going to cycle through every single one, send that over to ChatGPT, okay? Bam. And I think that's about it. So we'll save that, and you'll see what it's going to do. So understanding the question. While it's running that, let me see. Any questions? Any questions? No questions? Very cool. All right. It's reading CSV file, considering 20. It's searched all of those terms, right? Do you want a complete Python code snippet or an explanation of how to achieve? Complete Python code. See, and I wasn't even specific enough, so it's asking me some questions. Be very specific so you can get exactly what you want. Complete Python code that can be used in Google Colab. Also include any dependencies. Continue. Bam. So let's giving me the code. It's printing it out. It went and searched 25 different sources. They're all right here. You can go through, you can look at them all, you can do your own research if you want to. Scraped them all. I found the best answer to our question, and it's giving us the entire code to do what we just asked it to do. It's a very simple code. This is what I'm saying, like all of this stuff, pretty simple. We don't need to do that. All we have to do is do this. So it did give us like a separate code that we can actually upload the code, upload the file, but you don't need to, because I'll show you how you really have to do this. So you just come over to Google Colab, you just copy and paste, right? You click this little copy button right here, you paste it in. We're going to add a little code. It didn't give us the dependencies. So if you notice it says import, anytime it says import, please, you got to expect that there are some required dependencies. I know Pandas is one. I know OpenAI is one. CSV is probably native, so we don't need to worry about that. But just say also give me all installation. Give me the installation requirements. Pip commands. So just ask it what you need. It's going to give it to you. I'm pretty sure I already know those. So we'll just say pip install pandas OpenAI. But I'm pretty sure that that's what it's going to give me. I don't think we need CSV. Yeah. All right. It gave you separately. You don't need to do separate. All you have to do is have one line. Just separate the different dependencies. And we'll go ahead and press play. While that's doing its thing, we'll come up to our downloads folder. We're going to get our tutorial sheet that we downloaded. This is the CSV file that we downloaded with all of that data. We're going to come over here. I'm going to actually rename this so it's very easy. I'll just say test. Test.csv. And what this code is doing, we also need API. We need your API key. So to get an API key, very simple. Go to OpenAI, we'll go to Playground. You have to sign up for an API key. Very simple. You just go to openai.com. This is not ChatGPT. Just go to openai.com, sign up for an account. It's free. Then once you sign up, you go to your API key. I'm going to delete this API key. Test. So if you use it, it'll be deleted. But we'll take that. We'll put that right here. I think we need bearer. I'm not sure. I'll put bearer and see if that works. And then we're going to run. I want to make sure. Let's see. Print response. Yeah, print response. All right. So what this code is doing is it's saying for index, right? So each of the rows in the CSV, because it's loading the CSV right here with the CSV and pandas library. So it's basically saying this is the CSV file. The DF means data frame. It's reading the CSV. You don't need to know all this, honestly. This is why this is here, honestly. I've only learned all of this just because I've been doing this now for 9-10 months working with AI to specifically, build things. So, but yeah, so basic code. We don't want to do text DaVinci. I mean, it doesn't matter. We'll say prompt row here. We're going to change this. So if I want to change something, and this is where you can go back and change some different things. And I want to show you how this actually works. That's why I'm actually using this. So we're going to take this. I'm going to say, looking at your previous looking at your previous response, you need to change this to fit the chat, the OpenAI chat API and not the completion API. Utilize GPT-4 as the model. This is the code that needs to be changed. And then give it the code. Because this is using a kind of old, it's using the completion, we can do it that way, but ChatGPT-4 or GPT-4 model doesn't use the completion endpoint, it uses the chat. OpenAI chat completion, there it is, role system, that works, max tokens, perfect, perfect, perfect. Good, 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 good. I like it. Check that. Put it over here. And we're going to change a few things. So if you see right here, role, system, content, you are helpful assistance. This is where you want to give it. This is the system message. This is another reason why you want to use the chat. Anytime you're doing any API call to OpenAI, you really want to use the chat system, the chat method, not the completion method, right? Because it allows you to give it a system message which narrowly defines what exactly you want it to do, right? So think of it like the prompt. You can put your prompt by the user, you can give it additional stuff, but it takes this system message very, very, very seriously. So we're going to tell it, you are a prompt or a content, a reverse engineer that specializes, you are a reverse engineering app that specializes in looking at content and then putting yourself in the shoes of the content creator who wrote the content. You will always return with the beginning idea that sparked the creative process that created the content the user gives you. This is where you want to give it some idea of how you want it to start out its sentence, how it starts out its prompt. And the reason why you want to give it an idea of how to start out its prompt is so that it doesn't vary every single time you send this in. Because if you don't give it something to start out, it will probably just be very random every time, and you won't get a super, super, super well-defined, narrowly trained model that you really want to have, because that's how you get really good output. So your response should always start with write. We'll do, yeah, I gotta write a post about. And we have to go back over here. You see how this is black? That means that because I put quotes around it, and I have to just come back over here and just do F. And now there's no black around it. There is. Hold on. There we go. Write a post about. There we go. All right, that works. Bam, bam, bam. All right, so you are a reverse engineering app that specializes in looking at content and then putting yourself in the shoes of the content creator who wrote the content. You will always return with the beginning idea that sparked the creative process that created the content the user gives you. Your response should always start with write a post about. Bam, bam, bam. We're going to change this to GPT-4. We're going to change max tokens. So max tokens is basically the maximum amount of tokens you want this API call to respond with, right? One token is about four words. No, sorry. I don't remember the exact calculation, but for something like this, we'd probably be fine saying 500 tokens. I don't think it's going to go even close to that. So that's fine. We don't need number. We don't need the number. We'll take that out. Stop. We don't need that. Well, we can keep that on there. That's fine. And then temperature. What the temperature is basically telling you how creative you want it to be. I want it to always respond with a very specific style on every single post. So I'm going to say 0 because I don't want it to be like fluctuate every time it gives us something. This is for training purposes and data and synthetic data, so we want it to be pretty similar. And there we go. We have that. Let's give it a shot and see if we get an error. Yep, incorrect API bearer. See, it said bearer. So we'll take that off. And then also, I got to change print response. Print response. Bam. Invalid URL. Yeah, that's not right. So when you get errors, just come back over here and put it in. That's a lot of API keys. Yeah, I got a lot of them. Any questions so far while that's pumping out our answer to our error? Any questions? Any questions?
I just want to say thank you very much for showing us this so far. This is fantastic, actually seeing what you would do and troubleshoot in real time when something goes wrong. So this is invaluable information. So honestly, James, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. You know, like, and I just want to take away a lot of the, like, I hear a lot of people, I talk to people all the time, they go, oh man, I just wouldn't even know what to do or how to do that. And, you know, it's very simple. Once you actually just get started, you might not even have the right questions, right? But after you start working with the AI, and you start building with the AI, you're going to learn the right questions, you know, just because you've done it now a dozen times, a couple dozen times. So you understand, like, if I ask it this way, I'm going to get a better response, right? Is it only GPT-4? Someone can run this? No. You could do this off of literally any AI API. You could do this even off of, like, Hugging Face, right? Hugging Face has tons of open source models that are super cheap or free, completely free to use, right? You could do this off of Anthropic. You could do this with Claude. Like, the reason why I didn't do this with Claude, I have a Claude. Thank you, Mark. I have a Claude account. I have an API that's completely free. I didn't do it with that because I wanted to show you guys what, you know, that you should be using OpenAI at least when you're first starting out. But you could essentially do this with anything. Any model. There's tons of models out there. All right. So the error. So it just gave us open chat completion response. The error you encountered post the indicates that the requested model API endpoint is not available or does not exist. Is it because GPT-4? No, that's not right. That's not right. I have access to GPT-4. So what we're going to do is, because it's using the OpenAI, there might be some issue that it's not getting. Okay, I'm going to tell it basically to go off of this. Right now it's using the actual OpenAI package to do this call. As you can see, there's no actual URL that it's sending to. Like, you see the invalid request error says invalid URL post, right? It's saying that this URL is an issue, right? So we want to be able to be very specific about the URL we use. And for some reason, we can't do that because they're using the OpenAI package, or library. So we're going to say, okay, looking at the following code, let's not use the OpenAI library, and let's make the post, right? Because it's a post call. See where it says post, right? There's post or get, right? So those are the two kind of API calls that you can usually do with APIs, right? So, or requests. And let's make the post call to the API use the actual URL and structure and restructure the code to work as a normal API call to the chat, to the OpenAI chat system, chat model GPT-4. Bam. All right, there we go. I didn't give it the code. I said the following code and I didn't give it the code, but it'll probably get it anyway. If not, I'll have that ready. There you go. CSV file is basically the same. It's just changing that, and that's the issue right there. Headers, yep. Bearer, API, prompt, message, completion. Perfect. Message, content. All right. That's what we needed. We'll go to OpenAI documentation, OpenAI API documentation. I could just copy and paste from one of my other ones, but I'm not going to. And we'll go down to models. Chat. There we go. So we want to send this to the chat model. Chat completion right there. Because I saw that it still didn't get it right, so we're just going to go to OpenAI and just grab it. Grab it ourselves. Sometimes you have to work with it. Like you could probably give it. You could probably actually. I know you could. You could come up here if you don't know how to read all of this. It's okay. You could come up here and just copy the URL. Go back in there and say, hey, that didn't work again. Here's the documentation for the website. Please go off of this, and it will. It'll look at that. It'll pull that. Perfectly fine if you don't know how to read all this and you haven't done this before. You'll learn as you go. But if you ever come into issues, find the documentation for whatever website you're trying to access, whatever model you're trying to access, whatever, and just find that documentation and then give it to Perplexity. That'll help it out, and it'll actually get that information. All right, so let's copy this over. We're going to copy from max tokens down because we already have that. Bam. I'm going to copy for index, for data up, URL, bam. Bam. And then we're going to change this out. The chat completions. OpenAI API key. As you can see, this is asking for the API key, so we're going to take that off. We're going to import requests. Because if you notice, said we need requests and we need JSON, so we'll take those. And you could just copy, if you were doing this, I know what I'm changing. I don't want to go over and redo everything, so I'm just copy and pasting. But if this was you, just copy and paste the whole thing and then just put back in your API key, stuff like that. Once you get a bit more comfortable, feel free to do kind of what I'm doing. Even though what I'm doing isn't that much, I don't want you to think like, you got to do this, because if you don't understand where to put things and whatnot, then it won't be good. DF, yeah, I deleted that. Let's put that back in. And test. All right, so let's just look over at index, engine, nope, data, messages. Still not right. Still not doing right. Okay. No. No, 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 no. So we got to do the model. Actually, yeah, let's redo those messages. Sorry, guys, give me a second. Just redoing some code here. Messages, bam, model. Say GPT-4. Data, perfect, perfect. Looks good. Take that out. Change that back to 500. Change the temperature back to 0 because we want it very specific. Response. We'll print out each of those responses. The reason you want to make sure you print out all of your responses is because you want to make sure it's actually doing what you want. So you want to see a print command. Basically, what the print command does is tell it to print down here. All right. Looks okay. API key, chat completions, application, looks okay. Verse, row completion. Let's give it another shot, shall we? All right. And there it goes. Write a post, so now it's starting to go through each of these, and it's creating synthetic prompts. Write a post about the evolution of building a Web3 community, contrasting outdated methods with innovative strategies for the future, highlight shift from superficial tactics to more authentic, value-driven approaches that prioritize transparency, equitable distribution, and genuine engagement, right? And so basically, the reason why you want to make sure that you're having all of these is that you need the AI, when you fine-tune any AI, you need to give it something that the user put in, or something to train off of, saying this was the input, right? The prompt, this was the input, and then this is the ideal output. If this input was put in, I want this output, right? And this is where you can get crazy. You can build, this is why at the beginning I said you could build these models off of anything, like to help you create anything you want. Code, like if you're coding a very specific thing that you want to scale and that you need help with forever, and it's a very specific library, for example, or if it's, content for a very specific client, let's say like it's the NFL or NHL, or and you've pulled in a lot of content from NFL teams and how they write all of the best, most engaging content from NFL teams on Twitter or whatever, and you can put that in here, because then when you have your own fine-tuned model, I'm going to show you what that looks like on the output in just a second. But when you have your own fine-tuned model, it just makes your job of creating content for clients, for yourself, super, super, super easy. So now you see kind of how that works. Very, very simple. I'm going to stop this because we're not actually going to train this model. I was just wanting to show you kind of how it looks. And I'm going to show you kind of the output now, what you could expect from a fine-tuned model once you have this. Let's see. Before I go into the next kind of showing you what a fine-tuned model does, are there any questions before I go into that? Any? All right, cool. So we'll go into the last bit here. So, and I'm not going to show you actually the next week. I'll go into, shoot, screw it. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, so what you would do if you want to actually send it to OpenAI and get it fine-tuned, I'm not going to actually do this right now, but I'll show you kind of how you would do that in here. I'm not going to run the code and everything. We've got about 15 minutes left, and I want to show you kind of some of the output. But once again, you just come back to Perplexity, and you just ask it, okay, I have it fine-tuned, or I have the CSV updated. Now I need before you send it to OpenAI, you need to format it. Next week, I'm going to show you kind of this. This is the goal for next week. It's how to format it, how to actually train the model. Formatting, all of it's very simple, but if you want to work on this your own over the week before next Friday, just come on to Perplexity, do it this way. I have the CSV updated. Now I need to format the CSV file into a JSON-L with the required specs to train using OpenAI's fine-tuned training. And this is how you'll do that. And basically, once again, all you have to do, come over here and get this, the API, and just tell it, right? Use the documentation from OpenAI on how to format the training, the JSON-L file from here. So there, but I'm not going to go into that right now, but that's how you're going to start the next phase, right? You're going to format it, then you'll send it in. So after this, you'd ask a question, okay, now it's formatted. How do I send it into OpenAI to start the training, right? Two more questions, very, very simple. See, please provide a sample of your CSV, 2-3 rows. It already knows kind of what you want to do, so you come here, you copy and paste it, but we're not going to go on that. I want to show you the actual output of what a fine-tuned model looks like. So this is called Playground OpenAI, right? This is OpenAI's Playground. This is where you can mess around. You can do some really, really cool stuff. You could even test. Let's say you don't want to fine-tune. Like we could go into a whole class webinar just on this page right here. Let's say you don't want to fine-tune. You don't really have a use for fine-tuning your own models, even though I would argue everyone has a use to fine-tune your own models. But if you don't, you can come in here and just test. Test what type of system messages you can put in. You could test the user input. You could test all sorts of temperatures. Everything we just did with that API call, you could test it all here before you actually do it. And you can get some really, really cool output without even fine-tuning. You could do some really cool, wicked stuff, but we're not going to get into that right now. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a fine-tuned model that we have. This is the completion page that we have all of our fine-tuned models on. So you go to the playground, you go to the completion, and you'll find a fine-tuned model. I've got a lot of fine-tuned models. We're going to do kind of my fine-tuned model that I like the most for me, and that's James V18, so that's version 1.8. I have a few versions of this model I keep testing, keep iterating on, but this one, I just like the output the most. I haven't iterated on another model that worked as good as this one, so I like this one. So we'll put it at 750 maximum length. We have a stop sequence. I haven't gone into that yet. We'll go on that next week. And prompt, frequency, we'll not mess with any of those. So basically, this is where you're going to prompt your fine-tuned model just like you would prompt ChatGPT, anything like that. But my model doesn't have like write this or write that. My model has like different types of prompts because it's kind of a more generalized model. But you always want to start, like how I said before, have like a write a post about this or something like that. But we'll say learning AI is the future. If you don't know how to work with AI in meaningful ways, I doubt there's going to be much you'll be able to do within the next couple of years. Yeah. So we'll give it that, and we'll see what it comes up with. Bam. Very formatted LinkedIn post. AI is the future. Nobody knows this better than me. I've been working with it for 3 years. Without AI, I doubt I'd be able to do what I'm doing right now, let alone help change the lives of 1,000 people around the world. Many are still resistant to AI and all it can do, but here's the deal. In a few years, and this is where you can come format it, you can change things around. Let's say you don't like this. Let's say you might like a piece. Copy. All right, but you'll delete the rest of this. And you just give it another go. Artificial intelligence is the future. Anyone that doubts that should probably stop reading now. Blah, 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 blah. So we'll say, okay, cool. And we'll post this in here. You have to learn how to work with it. Bam. You have a decent little post. And yes, that means two. You have to learn how to work with it. Build automated sales funnels. Manage A3 communities. Produce and deliver products autonomously. Audio, video. Bam. You got a little LinkedIn post. Formatted for LinkedIn because it's trained that way. I didn't give it much information. You can give it a lot more information, and it's going to do a lot more because that's how this model works. Yeah. So, and it's always going to change the format. It's not going to look like a super formatted thing like if you do it with ChatGPT. So there you go. That's kind of a crash course into this right here. Does anybody want the link to this? I can share it. I'll post it into the chat right now. I'm going to share it to the public because it's fine. I'm not too worried about it. Copy the link. Delete this. Put API key here. And let me go back in and delete revoke key. Here's the link, guys. Super simple. I hope that helps. I hope you learned something here tonight. Next week I will go into actually training a model and some of the hyperparameters that go into training. And if you're interested in looking this up before the next class, so you have some questions about it, that would be great. But we'll be going into hyperparameters. I'll put them down. Hyperparameters for training AI model. And these hyperparameters change depending on what model and what kind of context, but specifically we'll be going into epoch. We'll be going into, I don't know if we'll do learning rate. We might go into learning rate, epoch, learning rate, and batch. Those are the three main ones when working with OpenAI. When you get into other models, you'll get into a lot of other hyperparameters that you can really do some crazy stuff with. But OpenAI is kind of specific on how they do their training because they don't want people doing anything crazy with it. But yeah, so that's what we'll go into next week, fine-tuning the model, and then actually seeing, hopefully, a fine-tuned model that we did live and what it looks like when we use it. So that's all I got this week, guys. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'm here for the next 5 minutes. So let me know. Any questions at all? Tick tock,
Can we
tick
get a
tock.
round of support for James here for taking the time out of his day to show this? You know, I would greatly appreciate if everyone could just make a thank you comment or just, you know, something that you found was interesting about today. It shows your massive support to James. This is not something he has to do. And I think it's really insightful that he is willing to actually show us the tips and tricks that people typically pay money for to kind of get this deep dive. So I would greatly appreciate if you guys could do that because this is going to radically help me a lot. So, James, I'm personally thanking you very much, and I look forward to next week to learning deeper dive.
Thank you, Ken. That means a lot, man. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm able to do this. Yeah, I think what I said in that prompt. By the way, I'm serious about, guys. I really believe that these are the tools that you really need to know in the coming next decade. That the people that leverage this technology the most, I've already seen it in my life over the last 8 months. There's some really big things that are happening for me personally because I know these things, and I know them very well, and I can build out things and I can do things, and it really helps in every aspect of your professional life. You don't have to go in the machine learning AI route, but if you know some of these basics, developing models, what type of data to develop models, some of these basics can set you apart from everyone else around you. And I really think that this is the kind of skill set you're going to need for the next decade. It's really what everyone's going to kind of look for, I think. So, yeah. So please learn, soak this up, not just from me, but go on to Perplexity, go on to ChatGPT, ask it some questions, and really try to do some stuff with this because it's some powerful stuff. Perplexity really is amazing, man. That tool alone, it'll save you hours of work, hours and hours of work, hours of research. I just want just to show, I just want to do one more thing, research, whatever. Let's say OpenAI API, and how to fine tune a model using the platform. Be very specific. Break it down into sections on exactly what to do. This is, if you're doing any research, end it with this. This is for a college level dissertation. Anyway, and it's going to go into some really cool details. But anyway, I've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to wrap it up while this is ending. Thank you all so much for being here. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Yeah, just thank you so much for being here, being part of this community. Come back next week where we're going to do a bit more deeper dive and get you some more information for you to be successful in your professional career, because that's what we want to do here in Brass Synergy, is help everybody grow and create and cultivate a better future for themselves and the rest of the builder community. So thank you all for everything you do. Let's skip that. Fine tuning. And it's going to really give you a lot of information. You can do some really cool stuff with this. But anyway, thank you all. Have a question. What is the primary use of Hugging Face? So Hugging Face is it's an open source community specifically designed for artificial intelligence models, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks. Has tons of access to a bunch of different computational algorithms, AI algorithms that you can use. They're fully open source. Most of them. Some of them have some, licensing and different things, but we can download them. You can access them. You can use them for your own purposes. You can call them like an API call, like we just did with OpenAI. You can use like languages like LangChain, which is a whole separate thing. It uses Python, but it's its own kind of artificial intelligence language where you can string together, a bunch of different of these models to do really, really cool things together. It's endless. Like, it's just an amazing platform for people to utilize different artificial intelligence models, and to your heart's content. It's really, really cool. So, anyway, thank you guys so much. We're time.